Good noon, everyone. So we will start in a while. This is our first ever library e-talk for this semester entitled Netiquette Online Learners Need to Know. So this is in collaboration with the College of Computer Studies. But before we will start, let's bow down our head for a short prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Dear God, thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us. We are truly grateful for them. Thank you for allowing us today to meet and share our knowledge and time with one another in this e-talk. May you impart your supreme wisdom to our speaker so that she would be able to effectively impart her God-given knowledge to all of us. May she be blessed as she continues to bring her expertise to people who needs her. Bless the participants as well so that they would be able to glean the vital information from this activity. May you bestow your blessing after this e-talk so that we may go out and spread what we've learned. In the spirit of your love and generosity, may we realize that this activity should glorify your name. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So good noon again. We would like to acknowledge our participants today, the students, faculty, staff, and colleagues, and also our librarians here. So our topic today is essential, especially this time of pandemic. You see that most of our services and classes are served online. Somehow, we need to learn essential rules on how we act and respond to every situations online. And this topic is not only exclusive to students, but to everyone using online platforms to communicate, serve, and access information. So before we begin, we have some few rules that we must observe. First, mute your device microphone. Second, during the presentation, please do not interrupt the speaker. Third, you may type your questions in the chat box. Your questions will be entertained after the e-talk. So without further ado, let me introduce to you our resource speaker for today. She's been teaching in the tertiary level since July 2001, and that's 19 years of academic experience. She handled programming courses like C, C++, and Java, web programming, networking, and educational technology courses. Currently, the OIC Dean of the College of Computer Studies and previously the chairperson of the Information and Technology Department of CCS. She earned her bachelor's degree from Silliman University and finished her master's degree from the University of Cebu. Also, she is the Microsoft Education Ambassador, a certified Java trainer in Philippine Software Industry Association, excuse me, a TESDA Trainer's Methodology Certificate 1 holder, a research assistant of the project Integrating Augmented Reality and Gamification as Pedagogies in Silliman University, and she is a member of Philippine E-Learning Society and Philippine Society of Information Technology Educators in Region 7. Everyone, please help me virtually welcome Assistant Professor Joy M.D. Ma'am Joy, thank you for having us here.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So, Ms. Rudin, should I proceed now with my talk?
Yes, please, Ma'am Joy.
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, when I got the invitation from Dr. Villanueva to speak to the student body regarding Netiquette Online, learners like you should know, I accepted it right away, knowing that this topic is quite relevant and appropriate, especially what us in the university, like you, the students, we, the faculty members and the administration has been going through with the shift from face-to-face to what we have right now, which is the online distance learning. I do hope I will be able to impart to each one of you how we should properly behave when we are communicating with each other virtually through the internet. Okay, so as introduced, I am Professor Joy D, and let me proceed now to my talk. And it's quite, the timing is very nice, right? It's lunchtime. So I hope I'll be feeding a lot of you of good thoughts and a lot of points to ponder as we continue after lunchtime our respective classes. Okay, so usually, I know most of us have heard the word netiquette, but what really is this one? So simply stated, it's network netiquette, that is the etiquette of cyberspace. And etiquette means the forms required by good breeding or prescribed by authority to be required in social or official life. In other words, netiquette is a set of rules for behaving properly online. But the online setup that we are in consideration here is, of course, our classroom or our online distance learning classes. So, the word netiquette is coined from the combination of network, which refers to the internet that enables us to network with each other virtually, and of course, the word etiquette. So, when you combine the two, you have net plus etiquette, so we have netiquette now. So social etiquette in real life is ingrained into culture, although etiquette in technology, commonly referred to as netiquette, is a fairly recent concept. Especially for us here at Silliman University, this is something that is really new to us now because of the ODL classes. The rules of etiquette that apply when communicating over the internet are different from those applied when communicating in person or by audio, such as telephone or video phone. It is a social code that is used in all places where one can interact with other human beings via the internet, including text messaging, email, online games, internet forums, chat rooms, and many more. So in other words, if you hear the word netiquette, it has got something to do with our behavior online. And in this context that I'm going to discuss next, it's more related on how we are going to behave in a virtual classroom where a learner is inside and at the same time, the professor. So let me proceed now to 14 things or rules that you learners should know about netiquette or online netiquette. If you're going to Google this word, there are a lot of things that will pop up in the internet. But I narrowed it down to 14 because I think this 14 is what we really need right now with our culture here in Silliman University. Okay, the first one is be careful with your tone. Now, we have to remember that, you should be careful with capitalization, as writing in all caps can oftentimes be interpreted as yelling and will be viewed as, of course, impolite. Similarly, a joke can oftentimes be perceived as a rude remark. This is why you have to make sure that your point doesn't get lost in translation. Now, right now, of course, with the SBE, they are more into video conferencing or synchronous activities. But we at the higher level, of course, we are, when the age level is like the teenage already, we rarely meet each other through video conferencing, but we do meet every class session through chat. This is where we could not really hear the tone of voice of the one we are communicating with. That's why this point or rule 1 is very important. Apart from texting, it is also advisable to be aware of your tone in online classes that use audio or video forms. However, this is where the rules of general etiquette apply more. So for instance, not talking over someone, listening carefully, or actively participating in class are proper ways to do. So, for example, if you're doing your Big Blue Button or your Google Meet or your Zoom meeting and your teacher is talking, please do not also chat on the side. Or the teacher is discussing online, you are also talking with your classmate or with someone in your household. Okay, so that's the first one. The next one is be accurate and factual. So the internet is a vast place with information coming from all sorts of resources. This is why you should be careful when providing information. It's important to fact check everything you read and possibly include sources when giving advice or information. When getting your degree online, like what we are doing right now, you should be careful to include credible resources in all your papers and when you help your classmates by providing information on a subject. Likewise, you should be cautious about what you choose to believe on the internet and what you share with others. For instance, if you're unsure how to go about it, stick to official sites that are known for credibility. That's why whenever research work is done or web research is given to my students, I normally would tell them that Wikipedia is not a valid resource because of this particular rule, be accurate and factual. The next one is search first, then ask. If you get stuck with a question on a certain assignment, it's better to search for it before you ask your classmates or the professor. It's possible that you might find your answer fast and there will be no need to include third parties. In other words, initiative is the key. The same goes for questions regarding class structure. You may find your answers in the syllabus or the university website. Of course, if you fail to find your answer after some time spent searching, you should turn to your professors or peers for help. Okay? So you try to look for the answer first before you try to ask help. Don't simply ask help without even trying to search for it first. Then the next one is don't use sarcasm freely. While in person, we communicate with the help of facial expressions and, of course, gestures. So aside from the verbal, we take cues from the facial expression and the gesture of the person we are talking to. Conveying the same message online can prove more challenging. This is especially true when it comes to sarcastic humor, as it usually isn't possible to transmit the tone of voice when using text. A light-hearted joke can be viewed differently in text. You will need to be careful about making the intent behind your words as clear as possible, which is why sarcasm is off limits most times. Okay. And this one, just like in a face-to-face classroom, because though we are doing our classroom virtually, we should always be as polite as we are in person. Being polite on the internet should be as common in real life. Unfortunately, That is not the case in many situations. But sometimes, especially the young ones right now, you tend to forget, since you are very used with technology and you are very used with using the internet through social networking sites, through your online game network and blogs, you tend to forget that you are already on a different perspective, which is a virtual classroom. So a significant number of people tend to use the internet as a cover and their display as a shield, which leads to them writing what they would never say in public. A key part of the netiquette is only typing what you would be comfortable with saying to someone's face. Hence, being respectful and polite to others should be part of your communications online. So before you type anything, you have to assess first, if I'm talking to this person, how would this person feel? Or if this person is talking to me this way, how would I feel? So if you feel comfortable with the words that you're trying to compose in your mind, then go ahead, type it in the chat box. The next one is use proper grammar and punctuation. I know the young ones, you have like, we call it Digimon, but does not work in a virtual classroom setting. So many people tend to forget the rules that apply to writing when communicating online. However, resorting to proper grammar and punctuation can make the message seem more professional and thought out. Not only does it make your text more readable, but it can also prepare you for professional writing that you might do in the future. So think about what you would like to read yourself. It should be easy to read and comprehensible. That way, you will save precious time for someone reading your email, your message, your comment, or your post. Another thing, if you make use of proper grammar and punctuation, it's also one way to convey the emotions together with that particular sentence, right? And of course, when you are using proper grammar and punctuation, you are sure that the context will not get lost once the reader is going to read and comprehend what you have typed or written. 7, I am halfway already because I'm only going to discuss about 14 of these rules. Okay. Number 7 is stay on topic. When there is a discussion happening, it's crucial that everyone stays on topic. Of course, I know the young ones are really into chat, right? And when you do that, you keep on like talking a lot about, you could like stay for hours and even stay awake all night just chatting with each other. But that particular mindset should not be the same when you are in a virtual classroom. So you chat with each other about a lot of varied topics, but when you are in a virtual classroom chat, you always need to stay on topic. It's easy to stray off the initial conversation, especially when there are many people participating in it. Filling the conversation with unnecessary information can lose precious time and make it hard for someone to understand what the discussion is really about. That's why usually in forums, there's always a moderator. So make sure that you understand what the discussion is about and only reply with things relevant to it. This can prove helpful to both you and the others. So for example, like in my class, even if my students are doing asynchronous activities, I would always get in the chat room. And that is the platform where the students could like ask me questions while they are doing their asynchronous activities. But there would always times wherein they tend to forget that that particular chat room is for our class. I think they would just get carried away with the conversation. So sometimes students would tend to like discuss about topics not related with the class anymore. That is a big no-no, because what if a classmate of yours just got in the chat box, then that particular classmate would be lost as to what we're talking about. When the mindset is you get into the chat box if you have clarifications or questions about the topic that you are supposed to study and learn at that instance. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This is something that is, I could say, crucial at the same time. So we have to remember that nothing is private online, especially in the Philippine setting that we don't have laws that like in other countries like the United States, wherein data privacy is really that strong, and where those who will not or disobey the law will be punished. So why is it that you have to remember that? Online privacy is something you should keep in mind when trying or when typing anything. Most things you post and share are probably going to be there for a long time. This means that you should stay away from anything considered inappropriate and rude. Remember that we live in a day and age where many things take place online, especially now that we do have this COVID pandemic, and building an online presence is just as important as the real life one. That being said, there is no real privacy on the internet, and you should handle what you share wisely. Okay? So there is, for example, in Facebook, you could see some just posting their personal identification, their IDs. That's a big no-no, especially if the vital information like your birth date, where you are, could be viewed by a lot of people. Okay, let's move on to number 9. The number 9 rule is make clear and brief points. So unlike face-to-face interactions, taking too long to get to a point can result in the message getting lost in text. Hence, it's best to use short and clear sentences when trying to explain something. It gets the point across more effectively and leaves less room for misunderstandings. So don't let your point get lost in translation by typing too many unnecessary words. However, make sure that all the information you want to present is still there. Okay. The next one is all about respect people's privacy. Okay. Sometimes we are already online. We tend to forget that, of course, the moment you get online, your privacy is already at stake. And we also forget to respect others' privacy. That's a big no-no. We should always respect people's privacy. Why? Because we need to treat others' privacy the same way you would want some to handle your private information. You shouldn't give the personal information of your classmates and professors online to anyone. This means being careful with passwords, whereabouts, private conversations, and pictures. The same goes for both yours and others' information, as it can be dangerous to distribute any of it without caution. Okay, let's move on to rule number 11. The 11th thing that you should need to know as an online learner. Okay, you have to use your professor's proper titles. Okay, because sometimes we get carried away, especially in the chat, that we will forget that who we are talking to, or in a group chat, we tend, the way I observe with my students lately, they tend to forget that I'm also part of the group chat. And when things get heated or carried away with the current topic of conversation in the chat, they would also tend to forget how to address the professor properly, which should not be the case. So although using the proper title for your professor should be understood, many people tend to forget it once classes are online. As a result, a certain amount of formality is a vital part of Netiquette guidelines for students. Unless the professor states otherwise, you should always refer to them professionally. Apart from using their proper title, you should always be careful to be respectful towards them in all forms of online communication. So it be in chat, if you have a video call, email, through your open forum, you should always address your professor with respect and address them with proper titles. You should act the same as you would in a traditional classroom. The next one is respect others' opinions. Now, if you try to, I have pasted here 3 images. The first one is keep calm and respect others' opinion. Because this has been like the trend lately. You have what we call bashing. If you try to express your opinion and the others doesn't agree to it, then you will be bashed. The thing here is, for you to be respected, you also need to give respect. So how to do that? We should just learn to be open-minded and respectful to people's opinions, even when you don't agree with it. Why do you have to do that? Because of course, each one of us is unique, right? And each one of us has different perspective and view on a certain issue or situation. So, not of course, we have the freedom to express our opinion, but aside from respecting each one of us to be able to express our opinion, we should not bash, because that will lead to what? Hate. So you should be aware that you're not always going to agree with the opinions of your classmates or professors. However, keep in mind that you should always be respectful in discussions. You can disagree with someone and respect their opinions at the same time. Although online learning carries a level of anonymity and distance, which traditional classes don't, that shouldn't serve as a reason not to be kind to someone, especially if that someone has an opposing opinion as yours. Remember that an online classroom is still a classroom. Okay. The next one is don't overuse the chat box. The image I have here is actually an actual chat between my students, which we usually do every time we do have classes, because we usually meet online or through video conferencing at most twice a month. So what does it mean when you say don't overuse the chat box? When in fact teacher is saying we have to meet, or if you have questions or clarifications, you go to the chat box. Many online classes come with chat boxes, like ours in My Soul. We do have that, to help students communicate. They serve as a way of letting students communicate with each other and ask questions related to what they are learning. However, if not used carefully, they can turn into a distraction box. You should know to only use the chat box when your text is going to be relevant to the topic you're discussing in class. It's not advisable to use it as a tool for chatting with fellow students about irrelevant matters. This is related to the previous rule, which is what? You have to also stay in topic. So that's what you have to do for you students not to overuse the chat box. And the last but not the least, okay, you need to submit assignments carefully. Okay, so what does that mean? Diba, right now we are more into the asynchronous activity so that no student will be left behind, and at the same time you will not be that too dependent with the internet. So synchronous activities are lesser compared to asynchronous activities. That's why you have more assignments and activities that you have to do asynchronously. So with that in mind, you need to submit your assignments also carefully. Especially with MySol, once you have clicked the submit button, you can no longer change it, right? And if you don't also take note of the due, then you have to communicate with your professor like regarding your assignment. And this happened recently with a class of mine. So being mindful of how to submit online assignments to professors should be something every student know how to do. Since there is no face-to-face interaction, if you fail to put your name on it or mess up the subject line, your assignment can easily be lost in a pile of emails. Another thing to be careful with when submitting assignments online is attachments. You shouldn't attach files for which you are not sure if the other person will be able to open. Additionally, you should follow specific instructions your professor gives about assignments. So I don't think a professor would give an assignment without being specific as to how to go through the assignment and what are the things needed for submission in relation to that specific assignment. The online community has its own set of rules that are referred to as the Netiquette. There are many things that online students should keep in mind, such as tone of voice, accuracy, proper grammar, privacy, etc. So being familiar with the unwritten rules of the internet and guidelines for interacting online can prove helpful with any online communication you have. So for the most part, you should remember to be respectful and fact check your information. So to end my talk, let me share these 3 points. We should always show positivity on social media because like recently for the past 3 weeks, I don't like to look into Facebook because I don't want to get stressed because of all the negativity and the hate going on there. And why not instead of um like of course we do have the each one of us is entitled the freedom of expression, but I think it would be better if we show love and stop the hate. And we have to remember that you students and us the professors, we are in this pandemic together. If you are adjusting to the ODL setup that we have right now, we are also adjusting to it. I've been in an online learning setup for the past 3 years for my doctorate studies, but I'm a student there. What I have right now, or what we do have in Silliman right now, is something also new to me. So I would like to quote Dr. Michael C. To our dear students in higher education, please show extra kindness and patience to your instructors and professors this school year. If they make mistakes, look troubled, and challenged, choose to offer help rather than post their mishaps in social media. If we, the professors, would want you students to consider that we are also trying our best to understand your current situation, especially related to connectivity or the internet, which is a vital factor for our virtual classes to go on smoothly. And with that, I would like to end my talk. Good afternoon once again. Miss Relin?
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, Ma'am Joy, for that very informative and insightful talk today.
Yeah,
So
I'm more
for
excited for Q&A.
yes, I'm waiting for the students to post their questions in the chat box. So anyone, if you have questions, you can type in your questions in the chat box, and Ma'am Joy could so she can answer all your queries and questions. Um, while waiting for the students to ask questions, actually I have here one question from my colleague while he is listening to the talk.
Okay?
So this is from Sir Godswill. So his question is, being the service providing, responding through chats on non-voice queries, do you think that we should be the ones who will dictate on how the exchange of chats will go to address the concern in an efficient manner?
Yes, I definitely agree with that. In a virtual classroom setting, it is us always the professor who need to set the tone and to set the direction of the chat discussion. I hope I answered his
Thank you so
question.
much, ma'am. Thank you very much, Ma'am Joy. Um, let me share to you, ma'am, because we serve our students through chat also using Talk to Soul and Facebook page. And there are really students who are very demanding in online. Um, Let me cite an example that there are 10 students asking for one material, but all of them are they want that these materials would be served immediately, because they will state there that I need this by 10, and they gave it like 9:30, and we will still look for the materials, and they will say I need it because I have to read pa. So what can you what can you say or give a any suggestions to the students who do that, especially this?
I think what would be vital in situations like that is to let the students know what are the library rules, like the virtual library rules, as to when they are supposed to send in the request, and they need to be aware how long they should give time for the librarians to be able to attend to their request. It's a matter of mind setting. So as long as the rules are specific and the students are aware, we could always tell them that 30 minutes, it's not within the stipulated blah, 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 according to, so you're going to cite the policy now. In that way, I think that would somehow, because we could not always expect the students to read ahead. Even if we tell them to, like for example, we do have classroom rules, policies, and guidelines. Even if you give them time, we could not always expect all of them to read and comprehend these rules. But as long as we do have this established set of rules, we could always go back to them to answer to the student, so that that particular student would understand that, oh, I'm already demanding too much. Okay, so as long as they know, I think they will understand it, and they'll be careful the next time around. So aside from citing that specific policy, we should then guide the student how to properly do it the next time around. So for example, we would say, what if the next time around, or if we're not too busy, and especially if it's really needed in a particular subject, we could like attend to the students' need, and then tell the students that we would be glad if the next time around you would stick with the rules to give us ample time to attend to your request. I think that would be like for both the student and on the end of the librarians, I think that's like a win-win situation, I think.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that, Mandre. Actually, we we had posted the rules and regulations already in our soul so that the students will be guided before they send their messages.
Yeah,
And
but the problem there, Miss Relin, is they don't usually read that, or they read it, but they don't really put that in mind. So at that instance, the goal of the student is to get a copy of the material without even being considerate that he or she is not the only student that the librarians are attending to, or that particular service is intended to. So I'm an optimistic person, so we could like guide them so that they would also learn their mistakes. That also happened to us here in CCS, especially during the enrollment, the registration, and the enrollment period. It could really test your patience. But I think the key lang is we should always embody the via veritas vita and what a true Sillimanian is. So in case our students would still not they are not yet at the level of being what a true Sillimanian is, we could always remind them how a true Sillimanian should behave in situations like that.
correct, good siya, Ma'am Joy. Grace under pressure.
Yes, grace under pressure. I know I could relate to you guys there at the virtual library because there are only three of us here in the office attending to the queries of the students during the admission process and the enrollment. So it's like every day we are receiving hundreds of emails, and they would always like spam you if you don't tend to reply to them right away. But we always make it a point that the students would realize and understand that, I made the right choice to be with Silliman University because the faculty and the staff are like this. Okay?
Yes. When you answer their queries, even if your head is or you are
The key
you
there, Miss
feel that
Relly,
you want to run.
the key there, Miss Relly, is what I normally do and is also helpful. I would normally count 1, 2, and 3, and then breathe in, breathe out, because you can clearly think, especially if email. It's okay with voice because you could somehow tell the emotion of the one you're talking to. But with this email, and especially students right now, they lack the formality per se. Like for example, you don't even address who you are. They would right away say, "Excuse me, where are my online classes?" in all caps and like a lot of exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. So if you're going to relate that particular email to Netiquette, that's already yelling, right? And then like this morning, that student sent an email to us. In the afternoon, the same student sent an email, exactly the same email to us. So it's quite annoying. And what I would usually do is that at that moment, of course, human as we are, we would feel affected. But at the end of the day, I think we are already with too much stress with the pandemic. So try lang to breathe in, breathe out, count 1, 2, 3, compose yourself before you would compose the email reply to the student. Because along the way, the student would realize that he or she is not doing the right thing. We just always need to guide them because knowing that they are students. Okay?
So thank you for that, Ma'am Joy. Very well answered question.
Patience is a virtue.
So we have here another question regarding books. Can we read it in virtual library? So maybe I will answer this question.
Okay.
So for Keith Roland, your question regarding books, can we read it in the virtual library? Actually, our services in virtual library, we do document delivery. So you can send your message through Soul, through our webpage suph.com, sulibraryph.com. So you can also send your queries there, and we do document delivery. So thank you for that. So maybe I did not get any more questions for Ma'am Joy.
Or maybe they are asked to ask questions.
We have here, ma'am, from Copernicus Genelia. May I
Okay.
ask if what are the things that can help us all in coping stress other than breathing in and out?
Okay. Okay, the breathing in and out and the counting of 1, 2, 3, that is right at the moment. But if you would want to talk about coping stress, each one of us, we do have hobbies that we call, right? So, of course, you are bombarded with a lot of activities already with your respective classes, but always find time to attend to your hobbies, but at the same time, not neglecting your academic responsibilities. When I talk about academic responsibilities, your assignments, the time for you to study. So the key there is we do even if it's online right now, your classes are scheduled. You do your assignment and your class related activities during your scheduled time. So in that way, you will be able to manage your time well, and you could have free time for what we call me time. Like I think you are aware lately that a lot of people are into plants. I think that's a way of coping stress. So people tend to look for another like avenue or a platform to pay attention to somehow get away or like at a moment in time lang siguro like a few makalimot with the stress that the stress caused by COVID that all of us are like experiencing right now. And there was even a time na, di ba, the Dragona coffee, I forgot the name, like that, and the TikTok. So in other words, you always find a way to devote time to your hobbies and to things that will somehow make you happy. Um, Based on my experience, it doesn't mean to say that only you students are coping with stress right now. You just don't understand how stressful, the more stressful it is for us, your professors. Like for myself, I may be in the academe for 19 years, but that experience of mine is a face-to-face experience. This semester is my very first experience being in an ODL class, which is a totally different teaching strategy, a different way to let our knowledge or impart knowledge to you, dear students. So, in my case, what I do is I always find time. Like, of course, I was still into the plants, but I'm not into ornamental. I have a little garden at home now that bear fruit, so I'm into vegetables and mga utanon and mga herbs. So to somehow like when I get home, you have that little time to distress yourself. Then once you are okay already, because doing your hobbies would somehow make you happy and somehow would help you clear your mind. So after that, you could go back to the real situation. Like in your case, students, you could go back to your assignments or like classroom related requirements that you need to attend to. Another thing is we are limited in terms of going out, and I know the students who are like 21 below are limited to go out, which we usually could do freely because like traveling and going out is one way to relieve stress, right? So there are a lot of stress relieving activities that we could not do right now. Based on what I have observed, because I have two kids, I have a teenager who's 17 years old and a grade 2 or a 7-year-old boy. What I usually do is let them do activities at home which they did not used to do prior to COVID. In that way, it's like a very new experience to them. And they find joy in doing it, knowing that they're limited to doing that at home. So in your case, for you to be able to cope stress, in summary, look back into your hobbies, what really interests you, find time to do it right now. If you feel like your head is about to break because of all the requirements, if you are into plans, then try to look at your plans. If you're into K-drama, then watch an episode. If you're into photography, you do it. My point is, whatever that hobby of yours, try to find time to do it, especially when you feel so stressed and down. Another thing is time management. Of course, for you to be able to devote time to your hobbies or those stress-relieving activities, you need to manage your time well so that you will not also sacrifice your class-related requirements. And third is prayer. I'm not really that but when you have that moment of silence with God, I think it would really help you think through and you could feel that medyo mawala imuhang stress. And also, it's more, another thing is, it's more on, it's like a matter of perspective, how you look into life. I mean, like with the pandemic that we have right now, it is beyond our control. The thing that we could do is what? To adapt with whatever is the new normal. Because if you keep on looking back at what used to be the normal, that is something that will add more stress. So might as well be open-minded and adapt to the new normal. Okay? I hope I'm able to share some points to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ma'am Joy. So, let's entertain one last question for
Okay.
today's talk.
By the way, Miss Reed, was I right? The previous question was from a student, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
From a student. Here, one last question. What to do if teachers don't respond to emails, especially
Oh! um, to answer that question, what to do when your teachers don't reply? Are you aware that each one of us, we do have what we call consultation hours? Okay? So during the face-to-face, it is only within this consultation hours that students could like go to our offices and clarify things. Okay. With a shift to virtual classroom, we still have consultation hours. Like for example, in my case, my consultation hour is 10 to 12 Monday to Friday. So at the start of the class or during the class orientation, I usually I stress to my students that expect your emails, your queries to be attended to by me within 10 to 12. Not unless it's really something urgent that really needs to be attended to. So I make it a habit to tell my students that they could email me anytime, but they could only expect a reply from me within 10 to 12 Monday to Friday. But I'm not sure how other teachers are handling their consultation hours. So if you don't receive an email from your teacher, if that teacher shared you his or her messenger, you could also do it there. Because supposedly with MISO, we do have the messaging feature. But lately, it's like put on hold because of all the negativity and the hate, I think. Or I'm not sure what happened, but we do have the messaging aside from the email. So with the messaging, it's like a PM or that it's totally different from the chat that you do experience with your classes. It's like you could directly message your teacher. So if Messenger is not available, the next thing that you could do is you go to su.edu.ph, try to get because all of us, there's a listing of the faculty members. So maybe but before I proceed, are you sure the email address is correct? That's one thing you have to check. Because what if that email address is not the correct email address? What I'm trying to say, all of us, we do have su.edu.ph email addresses, and we have others. Like me, I have su.edu, but I also have my Gmail. So first thing is you have to make sure that the email, the address that you use is the correct one. But if still you don't receive a reply, you could proceed to the department email or the college email, and you could ask help from there. You could ask, how will you be able, but of course, bear in mind to be polite, okay? So you could email there, like, how will you be able to communicate or get in touch with this particular faculty member? And if you still don't get a reply, because that's an email, but I don't think you won't get a reply, because right now, our mindset here in the university is that whenever we get emails, um, because the thing now is online, urgency is priority. So we usually, like here in the office, when we do get emails, we do reply. If the email still doesn't work, you could always call the office or the department where that particular faculty member is a member of. You could refer to the list posted in su.edu.ph. The website is updated in terms of faculty listing and the information and the numbers that you could use or call for you to be able to reach a particular department. So usually what is there is the department phone number. So you could call, and usually it's a secretary that would answer you. Then from there, you could ask, how will you be able to reach your teacher? Or you could ask a way that, or if you do have a message, you could like relay or tell that you would really want to keep in touch with this particular professor. So I hope that would help.
Yes, thank you very much, ma'am. Ma'am Joy. In our setup here in Silliman University, it's not only the email that you can contact.
Yes. There's Facebook, there's Messenger, there's Talk2, right? But we are not using Talk2 in the office. We only have Messenger, and because there are only 3 of us, so we just concentrated on the email, the phone, and the Messenger. So what I'm trying to say, if the email doesn't work, then you have to go to other platforms available for communication.
Actually, ma'am, I still have one more question from a colleague.
Sure. I think I have time. Sure.
From Ilmar Kirasol, his question is, are there different levels or degrees of netiquette based on the platforms used? For example, social media netiquette is different from email netiquette.
Yeah, there is. But what I have presented a while ago is specific to students in a virtual classroom. As I mentioned, how we are dealing with each other face to face, ethically, should also be the same in a virtual classroom. But social media is a different thing. Like for example, here in Silliman, we do have My Soul. So it's understood that this is the official learning management system. Everything related to your class should be is addressed within Soul. But of course, students love to post in FB. I also noticed that they are more active in FB than in other chat boxes. Like for example, it's easier for us, in my case, it's easier for me to reach my student through Messenger. You are right, there are different aspects and there are different netiquettes that you need to consider while you are in a social networking platform and you are doing email. But the main point here, it boils down again to being respectful and how you should be, how you're going to deal with each other in such a way that there is always respect, and there is respect, and at the same time, you spread positivity, not hate. Okay? And even voice, like you have what we call VOIP. That's when you are in that situation, that calls for another netiquette. But the rules that I presented a while ago is applicable to regardless of what the platform is, especially if you talk about online learning. Okay?
Thank you very much, Ma'am Joy. Actually, this is not a question, but he is asking if you could possibly send the photos of the PowerPoint shown to them.
Why? Sure. I could share. Are we allowed to share? I could share it through the library.
Yes, ma'am. Then they could
share it through the live. I could share the PDF file para di siya bugat. I could share it through the library, and you could get free access to it. That's a good question, because that would mean you are interested to be guided by these 14 netiquette rules. I will share the file with the library. So just keep in touch with our librarians if you want to get a copy of my PowerPoint presentation.
So I guess upon checking the chat box, I did not see any more questions.
Hmm?
Oh, here from Copernicus Genelia. Ma'am, one last question in regards to the Netiquette rules. Are there any possible punishment for students?
Okay. For students, I would in the university we do have what we call the student manual. You could get access of this one through su.edu.ph. And aside from that, or on top of those stipulated in the student manual, each college we do have our additional. So like here at CCS, we do have the student handbook. So you have the university manual for students, and at the same time, you have to look into your college student manual. And then aside from that, you have to look into the classroom policies, guidelines, and rules presented by your respective professors. So these are the three different documents that will somehow guide you how you could behave or how you are expected to behave in your respective virtual classroom and as a Sillimanian student. Okay?
Thank you very much, Ma'am Joy.
Welcome.
So I think there are no more questions. So it's time for us to thank you for devoting your time and expertise today. Indeed,
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. I could never say no to Dr. Villanueva.
thank you, ma'am. It is a great collaboration with the CCS department. So today, indeed, our topic is very informative and insightful for everybody. This topic will surely help everyone, not just students, improve their soft skills, prevent miscommunication. So as Ma'am Joy presented a while ago about grammar and punctuation, that it should be used properly and correctly to avoid misinterpretation of the communication. This will also help to better understand what is socially acceptable when working and collaborating online in different environments. So technically, this will help promote professional standards of behavior in online environment, as always expected also in the traditional classroom. So that would be all, and thank you very much. It is an honor for us to have you here, Ma'am Joy.
Always my pleasure. Thank
And
you also for inviting me.
yes, we will always collaborate with the um, computer studies department.
They
So,
are a college. It's College of Computer Studies.
College of Computer Studies.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward.
Yes. Thank you, Ma'am Joy. So we have here the certificate for of recognition.
Wow.
I have here is presented to Assistant Professor Joy MD in grateful recognition and sincere appreciation of the meritorious service given as speaker during the first library eTalk with the topic Netiquette Online Learners Need to Know, held at My Soul Virtual Library, Silliman University on September 9, 2020. Given this 9th day of September 2020, signed by Dr. Myra E. Villanueva.
Thank you. Thank you. I humbly accept the certificate.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Joy. So before we end this program, I would like to call on Dr. Myra Villanueva, our university librarian, for the closing remarks.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ma'am Joy, for that tips. I'm hoping that Sillimanians here today will be refreshed of their netiquette while online. And I'll take this opportunity also to invite our students. Well, that's why we have these activities in the library, because we do understand your situation while you are at home for like 6 months. So this is our saying to you that to hasten or taking part of your what's that stress whatsoever, we offer this activity. So I would like to invite everyone. Um, for next week activities, we have our do-it-yourself workshop, how to make an infographics using Canva. So that will be next Wednesday, September 9, 12 to 1 here at My Soul Virtual Library. So after the workshop, you will be asked, or yeah, we have some pakulo. Okay, so that you this is also one way for you to release your stress. So we'll ask you to make your own infographics on those and don'ts on the internet, and you will have a chance to win a to to have a Grammarly premium account. Okay, so we have three prizes for that, for a Grammarly premium account. Okay, so for more details, please visit our Silliman University Library FB page. And well, I would like to say thank you all. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ma'am Joy. Thank you for our librarians for supporting this
Welcome, Mamay.
activity. Okay, so see you around, Ma'am Joy. Thank you, my dear students. I hope that you've learned so much from the talk of Ma'am Joy, and we'll see you next week for our DIY and for next month for our next eTalk. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ma'am Myra. So for the students and faculty who are attending this eTalk, we will be sending your certificates after the eTalk. So thank you everyone, everyone. Ma'am Joy, daghang salamat
Why isa pa yan?
and stay safe. Thank you.
Likewise. Likewise. Bye.